Now we turn to Bahrain and a daring escape from that country by one of the government's chief opponents. Activist Ali Abdul Imam has been a target of the authorities for years, known as the blog father. He used his popular website to agitate for greater freedoms. As the Arab Spring swept the region in 2010, thousands of Bahrainis took to the streets of their tiny island kingdom, also demanding greater freedoms. But the government has so far managed to squelch the protests and hold off from enacting major reforms. Abdul Imam has been detained several times and says he was abused in prison. Eventually, he went into hiding until making a dramatic escape from the country last week. Ali Abdul Imam joined me a short time ago for his first television interview since that escape. And he was there with one of the men who worked to bring him out of Bahrain, Thor Halvorsen of the Oslo Freedom Forum. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. Let me go straight to you, Mr. Abdul Imam, and ask you, what was it like the moment you knew you were free? You've just arrived in Europe. How does it feel?
Well, you will not imagine how important is the freedom until you miss it. If you lived isolated from the war for so long time, and then you just find yourself that you are free, and you can walk in the street, you can run, you can drive cars, you can travel with the airplane, then you will feel what did you miss during the past 2 years.
Mr. Halvorsen, you all devised all sorts of plans to get Ali Abdul Imam out of Bahrain. Just walk me through some of those plans that you devised, whether or not you use them.
Well, Christiane, we started out with the idea we need to get him out. We've been trying to have him speak at an event here in Oslo for 2 years, and we were not going to be stopped by the Bahraini government. And at first it was, you know, one of my colleagues said, well, why don't we figure out a way of getting him out? And we all thought, well, that's impossible. And then we started to take it seriously. And then we ended up talking to a member of the Danish Special Forces who essentially vetted the ideas that we had. It wasn't so much as having one plan as having a plan that would have many, many options built in. So if there was one avenue that we were trying to go for, if it didn't work, we then had a fallback. So there would be a plan B, a plan C, and a plan D. And our idea was to travel there with a couple of performance artists, people who were going to have an entourage and come across as very celebrity-like, and switch one member of our crew with Ali on the way out of the country on a chartered jet.
You didn't have to enact the elaborate plans that you thought you would. But how did Ali come out?
Ali was offered a now or never proposition by someone inside Bahrain. And he was put into a car that had a compartment that it couldn't be seen. The compartment allowed him to hide as they crossed over the bridge into Saudi Arabia, and from Saudi Arabia traveled all the way into Kuwait through an area that was not very well patrolled. From Kuwait, he took some fishermen took him on a boat to a port near Basra in Iraq. From Basra, he flew to Najaf. From Najaf, he flew to Baghdad on Iraqi Airways, and then from there, he flew to London.
Ali Abdul Imam, can you tell me, how were you treated when you were arrested?
I cannot call them a human. They are savage. They hate us. They show us, not they are doing their duty of torturing us. They were enjoying torturing us. So during that time, we've been beaten, we've been threatened by our families. They forced us to sign a confession. Even in the public prosecutor, the investigator was shouting at me. He wasn't questioning me. He also read my charge and answer instead of me. Even if I refused the charge, he was shouting at me, and they threatening me. In the public prosecutor, if I refuse to sign it, they will show me the hell. It was a very, very tough time.
I want to ask you, and also you, Mr. Halvorsen, what do you think is the future of Bahrain? Are there going to be more protests? Is there going to be some kind of success in getting the government to institute reforms? First you, Mr. Halvorsen, what do you think, looking from abroad?
Well, looking from abroad, it's very disappointing, because sometimes you meet people, and depending on their politics, they think that Bahrain is okay or Bahrain is problematic. And when asked, well, why is it okay? Well, because the alternative would be a different totalitarian government. And I don't think that there is necessarily just two alternatives, one set of crazy psychopaths over another set of secular psychopaths. In either case, it's not acceptable. And I think that as long as the pressure continues on Bahrain, we'd like to see nonviolence lead to reform. And I think public exposure is absolutely crucial. And voices like Ali's, who have not been heard of for a long time, are the sorts of voices of nonviolence that are absolutely crucial.
Well, you talk about pressure for reform from outside. As you know, there's been very little pressure, Thor, for reform from outside, beyond words. The United States has its Fifth Fleet based in Bahrain. It's a critical strategic partner. And to that end, I want to play you this soundbite from when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State.
As a country with many complex interests, we'll always have to walk and chew gum at the same time. That is our challenge in a country like Bahrain, which has been America's close friend and partner for decades.
So what do you make of that? First you, Mr. Halverson, and then I want to ask you, Mr. Abdul Imam, whether you think that you will have outside support.
Is there any wonder, Christiane, why the United States government so often has so many detractors when they see the United States holding hands with regimes like, for instance, Saudi Arabia or Bahrain, and in the past so many different regimes, whether in Latin America or in Asia, and then we ask, well, why do they hate us?
The problem is the West is turning their back to us, and even Hillary Clinton, the secretary, when she talked, she's just showing us that we are, in Bahrain, less humanity. The people in the United States, they have the right to select their government, to elect their parliament, to do freedom of expression. But you, people of Bahrain, you don't deserve this. You are not wise enough to rule your own country. So you need this royal family to keep abusing you and violating human rights. We are human. And we are not less human. We are wise enough. We are well educated. We can manage our country by ourselves.
What about your family? They're still there. Are you concerned about them, your wife, other members of your family? Do you have a message for them?
I want to tell them that I love them, and I did what I did to escape from Bahrain just to reunite with them as soon as we can.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've been reaching out for years to the Bahraini government, seeking high-level officials to talk to us about what's going on there. We've also obviously sought their response to Abdul Imam's story, and we have just received a statement. It reads in part, Abdul Imam's website has, quote, repeatedly been used to incite hatred, including through the spreading of false and inflammatory rumors.